Happy Wednesday and welcome to the 135th episode of the Filmgazm podcast. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
Oh, I'm Josh Allred.
And this is a very special episode. Today we're going to be reviewing a comic book series in place of a movie, thanks to the awesome folks at Eibon Press, particularly executive publisher Shawn, who enjoyed our episode on Lucio Fulci's The Beyond so much that he sent Josh and I the complete run of his company's adaptation of The Beyond. So we thought it'd be fun to go back to Fulci and compare the 1981 Italian horror film with Eibon's comic adaptation. This is so cool that we get to do this. This is a really neat honor, and I'm so excited.
Man, look, you're just as surprised as anybody else. I mean, I was shocked when we put the episode out, and then I got a message on Twitter through our Filmgazm page there. At Filmgazm on Twitter, at Filmgazm on Instagram. You can email us, filmgazm@gmail.com. Hit us up. Yes, we do. Well, Connor reads them. I don't have access to the email account, but Connor will read your emails, and he might even actually read them on the air.
Yes. I have taken requests in the past. So if there's a movie you guys want us to talk about, just let us know.
Yeah, so somebody reached out from Eibon. Don't know who it was. It might have been Shawn directly, but I don't know. And they said, yeah, we really liked what you did. Shawn wants to send you guys some comics. I creamed my pants. I'm just gonna say it. It was mind-blowing. I never thought, because I wasn't putting any of that out, shouting them out in the episode or anything in the hopes of getting anything at all. It was just to acknowledge that somebody else loved Lucio Fulci's movies, not just Shawn, Stephen Romano, who wrote the story for this, and a lot of the other Eibon comics. Stephen Romano is a writer of them. The amazing art by Pat Carbajal and Bruna Costa. This whole series of books is amazing.
Yeah.
And yes, thank you very much, Shawn, Eibon. We love you guys.
Yeah, this is, and I'm a horror movie fan, but outside of films and books, I haven't really looked into horror comics that much. So I didn't know of Eibon Press till you told me about them on air, and then we had this whole thing happen. And just looking at what they've got, it's incredible, amazing artwork, amazing storytelling, and I really want to press just check these guys out. I mean, if you don't if you're looking for really badass horror comic books, this is the place to go. I mean, these guys fucking rock.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I told a friend of mine about it, and he was like, "Oh, I was just at the comic shop the other day." I was like, "No, you're not going to find them at comic shops. When you buy these comics, you're buying them straight from the people who make them, which is pretty damn awesome." Shawn packs these things up himself. When I got some comics from him, it had taken a while. I think it was the Gates of Hell. When I bought the Gates of Hell book from him, it took a while to get there because he just had a bunch of other issues with the printing of the books and all this other stuff. So it took a little bit longer. And Shawn is very, very conscientious, and he takes care of the people that take the time out to order books from him and stuff. He gave me a free comic, and on there was this Post-it note that said, "Thanks for being patient." I was I don't thank you. Hell yeah, I'll take all the free comics you want to give me, but I also love putting money in your pocket. So yes, go straight to them. eibonpress.com. They have the sickest horror comics I've ever seen. I mean, I know you mentioned that your horror comics really wasn't something you were that into. Me, however, obviously I was all about it. I'm not as well versed in horror comics. A lot of the recommendations I would get, any knowledge I get from my friend Ty, who I've mentioned quite a few times. He works at Orbit DVD in Asheville, North Carolina. He tells me about a lot of stuff. And I mean, comics and horror have gone together for the longest time. EC Comics was the inspiration for what Creepshow looked like, because they wanted to recreate what those comics look like. And I mean, George Romero, Stephen King, those comics were very influential to them. So as long as you've had comic books, you've always had horror. Just like as long as we've had movies, we've had horror. It's a genre that is never going to go away because of how malleable it is and what you can do within it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what these guys have done with Fulci's work, like in my opinion, have, really stretched the story into something I think a lot more coherent and enjoyable. Personally, like when we did the Beyond, I had said that one of my biggest issues with it was that I found it kind of hard to follow and a little confusing. But the way that Eibon fixed that has really like made me think like I got to read the rest of their adaptations just so I can appreciate the rest of Fulci's movies. I mean, that's just a personal goal now. Fantastic.
Oh yeah. Like I had to stop looking through the gates of hell because I wanted to get this done, which anybody else want to send us comic books for research and for future shows, go for it. But yeah, I stopped reading that, but like I have the Maniac graphic novel and I haven't gotten a chance to pick that back up because a lot of my nighttime routine with my kids, I'm reading books to them. So, which tickles me to no end to get and sit and read to them. I've read a couple of Goosebumps books to them. I just finished the second Killer Pizza book with them. So they love it. And, I don't get the chances often to read myself. So the fact that I was given an excuse to read comics, I will take that all day.
Yeah, me too, man. I have a huge comic book collection and I haven't really read a lot of them. I don't know why. I just haven't gotten to it. I've got so much on my plate constantly that I really have to manage my time in an appropriate way. And I'm glad I got to read these. And now I'm really into Eibon's stuff. I've ordered a lot of stuff. I ordered the Gates of Hell paperback collection. Waiting on that. I'm excited for that. I know Caleb ordered a bunch of stuff. And yeah, I'm happy to support a small business because, we're a small business and it feels good to give a little back.
Oh, totally. Totally. And if we are contributing in any way to them getting some more books sold, then we've accomplished our mission.
Hell yeah, absolutely. And I hope you guys listening, want to help out too. Like they deserve it. They're fantastic work. I mean, yeah, we'll get into that for sure. So if you're fuzzy on the Beyond and Lucio Fulci, we recommend going back and listening to episode 131, where Josh and I dig into that film particularly. Today is going to be largely improvisational and more focused on the 4-part comic series. But first, I do want to touch again on Fulci because I did an insane amount of prep for this episode. I watched the entire Gates of Hell trilogy, as well as the New York Ripper and Maniac, which I know isn't Fulci, but it's similar in tone, and I wanted to watch it. So let's go through the Gates of Hell trilogy proper, now that I've actually seen them. City of the Living Dead is where the Gates of Hell trilogy starts, 1980. And it's interesting. It's probably, I think it's my favorite of the Gates of Hell trilogy. I think City of the Living Dead was really cool. I think it had its issues, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's I think it might be like The Beyond is definitely my favorite Fulci movie. Like you said, City of the Living Dead is fun. It is something that really, I think it really exemplifies Fulci's approach to making movies, in how a lot of it is just like scenes and imagery that he has that he loosely ties together with what most American audiences would want is narrative. Narrative holds them together. There's a story, but much in the way, and this theory is really kind of I'm taking from my friend Ty, because we were talking about this. We have conversations about Fulci and a bunch of other movies like all the time, and he was like, look, the moment that Father Thomas hangs himself, the gates are open. So anything and everything is possible. All bets are off. Not to mention the fact that the town that is the one of the gates of hell is also a town that is referenced in Lovecraft.
Yeah.
So this movie is like Lucio Fulci channeling H.P. Lovecraft. So it's like weird on top of weird, and then they smush and barfs out the City of the Living Dead, which has two of my favorite deaths in horror movies, like two of my favorites. And I'm sure you know exactly which ones I'm talking about.
I'm assuming one of them is the one woman literally puking her guts out, and the other
one,
Bob,
and the
getting
other
drilled.
one is Bob. Yeah, it's still one of the best effects. And I don't know if you've watched them yet. There's this right now it's 2 parts. It's a documentary called In Search of Darkness. They're both part 1 and part 2 are on Shudder right now. I just finished watching part 2. They're about 4 hours a piece, so you got to take them in chunks. Totally worth it though. Totally worth it. But in part 2, they touch on a lot of Italian horror movies, which was like my favorite part of the entire documentary, was them talking about Italian horror. And they showed that shot overhead of the drill going through Bob's head, and it's turning. So like you're trying to figure out how the fuck they pulled something like that off. But then you realize when you understand how Fulci approaches things, like he wanted that. He was like, I want to see this dude get a fucking drill through his head, and I want to see the drill move. Make it happen. And Tom Savini even made a comment about stuff like that. Like they were literally given problems. And he was like, look, here's what we're going to do. And they're like, well, how are you going to do it? He's like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. And like that right there is like that kind of spirit. You're like, I don't know how the fuck we're going to do it, but we're going to make it happen. And it's so memorable. But yeah, that woman puking her guts out. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, like you want it to end. You want it to end so many times. And like when I told you about Zombie, I was like, Fulci likes to torture his audience. He wants you to look away first, because he's not going to. He's not going to flinch. And that death is that whole philosophy. He is not going to stop. He's going to make her puke her guts and 5 other people's guts worth out of her mouth, and you're going to have to stop watching it because he's not done yet.
Yeah, that was I was not prepared for that. That was just, I was in awe. I was like, how long is this? Like, I was looking at my watch, like it was like a, like a sketch comedy. Like, she's still going. Like, holy shit. Like, wow, that's commitment. What I really liked in that movie was Mary getting buried alive. I thought that was done really well. I kept thinking, like, don't walk away, dude. Just don't walk away. Like, he kept almost leaving, and then he kept like, was that what I? And I love that his solution is take a pickaxe right to where her face would be.
Why not? Why not? I mean, you hear a woman screaming in the ground, and you figure, oh my God, she's been buried alive. And you're like, fuck, of course, just you got to grab what's handy. And why wouldn't there be a pickaxe just right there? Just freshly dug grave. Of course there's a pickaxe.
I love the grave diggers are like, well, I guess that's lunch or whatever. They were like half done. They're just like, I guess we're done for today. Fucking, oh. But yeah, that was great. Again, my only real issues are narrative, but honestly, the comics are clearing that up for me. So that's not really becoming a problem anymore. I loved Bob getting drilled. It was so unnecessarily over the top, and it was an incredible effect. I was trying to figure out, like, I can see his face moving, and I can see the drill through his head. Is he dead? Did Fulci really kill this guy? I wouldn't put it past him.
No, he was in a couple of other Italian movies. He was one of those guys that, like, he has that face you can't pin where exactly you saw. I think he was in Cannibal Holocaust. He was one of the film crew in Cannibal Holocaust, which was, I think, like just before this, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he was in quite a few Italian movies, and his name escapes me right now. So I'm a terrible horror fan, and I don't remember his name. And I'm sure my friend Ty is probably screaming as when he listens to this, he's gonna be like, "Yeah, that's his name." And yeah,
Giovanni Lombardo Radici.
There you go.
Yeah.
Giovanni Radici. Yeah.
It was weird in the movie that, like, nobody ever brought him up again. Like, everyone was hunting him down. Some guy finds him, drills his fucking head in his garage, and then nobody ever talks about Bob again. But that's hell.
Yeah, exactly. That's again, all bets are off. Nothing makes any kind of sense. Like, and these aren't even zombies. You know, it's this weird thing because like how they function and how they move, like they're totally counterintuitive to what it's like. They operate on nightmare logic. It's just like they're here one minute and then they're over there the next. You know, Father Thomas, anytime he appears to somebody, he like makes their eyeballs bleed and then they're barfing their guts out. Like none of this has any kind of like, because if you try to look at this logically, you're gonna hurt yourself.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that to wag my finger at you. Just more so that anybody who, you know, I do think unless you're a real like gung ho, like let's just watch a movie and go have fun with it, kind of have that kind of attitude, you need a little context for Italian movies because they do operate in a different way, and it's not a bad thing because once you get it, then you have this perspective on when you watch them, and then they become like they're some of my favorite movies. And I mean, you've heard me gush a lot about them, so. And I think from what you've seen, you can appreciate them.
I can. I understand, you know, the love. I get the reverence, and the gore effects are beautiful. It's really fantastic. And really the narrative thing is just something I'm gonna have to get over myself. I get it. I totally get it. It's a me problem, straight up. I've had this issue with a lot of filmmakers. The Beyond obviously was the middle part, and we've talked extensively about the Beyond. The finale of the Gates of Hell trilogy is The House by the Cemetery. This was the one I liked the least. This was, I didn't really see how this connected to the whole Gates of Hell concept.
That's why I told you the first time when I brought it up, the whole Gates of Hell trilogy, I was like, and you asked me like, do I need to watch these in order? I'm like, no, you don't. You really don't. Because it's more kind of something that was attributed like after the fact. Like none of these movies, to my understanding, were made to like have this huge connecting thread because you don't really like the books. The books have kind of done their part in trying to connect them in a way which I appreciate, and it kind of sort of echoes Argento's Three Sisters in like how they're using certain characters to tie them to the events of each story.
Okay.
So having a little more background, and I'm only assuming because I haven't finished reading it, the Gates of Hell graphic novel is going to explain some of that stuff. So like I said, I can't wait to dig into that. Cool.
Yeah. This was just an oddball. I found this one kind of like dull more than anything else. The whole scientist keeping himself alive thing seemed kind of like an afterthought at the end of the movie. Like, oh, we got to come up with a bad guy. Let's fill this in. And the kid was so annoying. And that's not the kid's fault. It's the overdub. I've talked to Caleb about this, and it's just so terrible. Like that is clearly not a child voicing that overdub.
Oh no, it's a woman. But ironically enough, everybody hates Bob. and clearly, Fulci has a problem with people named Bob.
Yes, he does.
You know, fuck that guy. Did you happen to watch Joe Bob, the Joe Bob episode with Eli Roth talking about House by the Cemetery?
I did not. I haven't gotten into Joe Bob yet.
You're missing out. But what I will say about this is that Eli Roth is a huge fan of Fulci and Italian horror, and he gives you a lot of reverence, but even he found it hard to really like nail down what's happening in this movie. But I kind of feel like House by the Cemetery is kind of like this haunted house kind of movie. Like there's something in the house that is, you know, that's there, that's his presence and all of that, where like The Beyond isn't really a haunted house movie. It's more like there's, you know, again, there's something ethereal that is controlling what's going on, and somebody is inexplicably connected to this, but they don't know how. I did like, there were certain things that I really did like about House by the Cemetery. Again, it's Fulci being very striking with his visuals. That chick that gets that knife right through the back of her head and it pops out her mouth. Like,
yeah,
that is Fulci saying, this is what I want. Make it happen. Let's figure this out. And he's, that's why so many horror fans hold him in such regard for being the quote unquote godfather of gore. Is like, he just goes for it every time. He does not hold back. And I can't wait for you to tell me how you felt about New York Ripper, because that movie is just mean as fuck too.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good segue. The New York Ripper is one of the weirdest pornographic films I've ever seen. It's basically, it feels like a snuff film. It's so uncomfortably grisly, and I don't know why the killer quacks like a duck, but okay. Yeah, it was a very angry film. Yeah. Yeah. What did you think? I assume you really like this one.
Yeah, well, it's just so outrageous. Like, you're totally off put by all of the violence, because it is an extremely violent movie, but then you can't help but like kind of laugh when like you hear the killer on the phone. You're just like, come on, dude, like, how am I supposed to take you serious? Because I told you that. Yes. I was like, how can you, even though I prepped you and gave it away, like, you're still just like totally caught off guard. And I think that was intentional on Fulci's part. I don't know. That's one of his that I don't have on, I don't own right now. And I really want to know, because I want to know a little bit more about the movie, obviously. But yeah, it's just one of those, it's so nasty and it's so mean. And it's just one of those movies that like, it sticks with you. Once you've seen it, like, you're never going to forget it. And it's got a great piece of cover art by Enzo Ciotti, rest in peace. Like, that man's cover art was pure art, so wonderful. Yeah, and there's actually a connection to the New York Ripper to Maniac in the Eibon world, in that Frank Zito and the New York Ripper go at it. So I'm like, come on, I want to see that fight.
Oh my God, I'm on Team Zito. That motherfucker can, yeah. The New Yorker, I've never seen a movie where like a dude toe fucks a woman for 20 minutes. I've never seen that. The scene where just like, I don't remember the name of the woman, but he had her tied down and he was just carving her the whole time while the cops tried to find her. I thought that was a bit much. I mean, like, that's a level of violence usually reserved for like people who, like bad people in films. Usually they get that kind of treatment. So when somebody who's really like doesn't deserve that, I was kind of like uncomfortable just at how violent it was to her. Like, that, fuck. Yeah, this movie seemed to be it felt cathartic for Fulci. Like, he was trying to say something. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to make that claim.
I don't know 100%. That's kind of why I want to get my hands on one of the, because Blue Underground, they're my jam. I love Bill Lustig. He's put out House by the Cemetery. He put out Zombie. He put out New York Ripper. And I really want to get the New York Ripper. He actually, so he remastered it, put out a 3-disc collector's edition on Blu-ray, but then he went back again and did it on 4K. So I'm like, I don't need a 4K player, but I'm going to have to get one, because bastards like Bill Lustig are forcing my hand, which is fine, because it just means I need to buy a PlayStation 5. So, okay, I get it. I'm working on it.
Yeah, Caleb's doing 4K too, and I'm here with my PS4 and my Blu-rays and buying old DVDs when I find them, so I own the movie, because that's really all I care about at this point. I'm an under $20 kind of guy, so I don't
blame you. I'm also a sucker for stuff that I know you can't really get anywhere else. I couldn't resist picking up Hell Comes to Frogtown and a couple of other movies from Vinegar Syndrome, because you're not going to find those anywhere else. And when you see there's only like a couple hundred copies, you're like, that's not going to last very long. So I got to get it. And I can separate myself from my money when I know the people that I'm giving it to have taken the time to, do a good restoration, pack in some special features, and make it worth my while. One of the first Vinegar Syndrome Blu-rays I bought at Crypticon 2018, I think, with Caleb. One of the guys there, he was selling a bunch of stuff, and I bought Ice Cream Man. And he was like, I was thumbing through him. The guy was like, "Hey, you like Joe Bob?" I'm like, "Yeah, who doesn't?" He's like, "Well, that Ice Cream Man's got Joe Bob commentary on there. So it's got that whole cut of the movie that's straight up intercut with Joe Bob's Summer School." I was like, you know what? Fuck you, man. He's like, "What?" It's like, now I have to buy it. So yeah, I bought it that day and fell in love with Vinegar Syndrome ever since. I bought fucking Beastmaster from them when they put a huge special edition together. So yeah, like I said one of the last times we talked, that's kind of my jam. I'm resigning myself to, this is where my free money is going to go to.
Yeah, and that goes right back to supporting a small business and keeping connections alive in this kind of community, and that's great. I love that. If I could afford it, I would too.
Yeah, you got all that teacher money.
Oh yeah, I got instructional assistant money, and that's oh yeah, I'm rolling in it over here.
I mean, you're buying cats and whatnot. I mean, come on.
Yeah, my latest splurge was a $40 rescue cat. And for those of you who listened to the sneak preview, you may have heard Seymour just meowing around back there. You might hear him in this one. Going forward, there's going to be cat Easter eggs all over this fucking show.
Just trying to break in any way you can. And
yes, it is Seymour after Seymour Krelborn from Little Shop of Horrors, one of my favorite movies. Maniac. I know it's not Fulci, but it definitely has the same tone as a lot of these films. This kind of late 70s, early 80s, just grit.
It's a dirty New York horror movie.
Yeah,
absolutely. Back when New York was dangerous and you dare not look somebody in the eye on the street or turn down the wrong alley because you would get fucked up. Yes, that is exactly what I mean. The scenery in that is like, it reminds me of like this movie. It reminds me of Frank Henenlotter movies like Basket Case and Brain Damage and Frankenhooker, like all these movies that were made in New York in the late 70s and 80s when New York was like, it had an identity. It didn't look like, the New York that everybody thinks of now that's all pretty and clean. On like, this New York would eat your ass alive and leave you in a puddle of shit on the corner. Like, that was the New York that is in those movies. Absolutely.
Yeah, straight up. I mean, Maniac to me feels like if Taxi Driver was a horror movie, this is what it would look like. And I thought that was really cool. It definitely reminded me of the Son of Sam murders. That was a big influence over a lot of serial killer movies that took place in New York in the 80s. And there's something about this movie. I don't know what it is. Joe Spinell he nailed it. He was so good in this movie. And it's vicious, it's gritty, it's uncomfortable, but I couldn't look away. I was very surprised that I enjoyed this one. I thought I was going to hate this.
Well, so it's a slasher from the point of view of the slasher. The audience is not sympathizing with the victims at all. You are meant to sympathize to a certain extent with Frank Zito, and you're seeing the world through his eyes, up to and including the point where you're not sure what is real that you're seeing. Like, are you seeing everything in his head, or is the things that he's doing, is he really doing them? I think, I mean, this is not the episode to break that movie down, but you're definitely questioning yourself the entire time, and you nailed it. Joe Spinell is a force of nature in this movie. Like he manages to portray this character in such an endearing way. Like you really like, he is Frank Zito. Like he is. And then he's also like, he's a chameleon. Like he takes his strengths as a character actor, and like when Frank is out on the town and he's like wearing this fucking leisure suit and shit, and you're just like, this guy is just pretending like he's cool right now. Like, like when a character actor is really good, they can layer their own performances, because you could tell that it's like this nervous Frank Zito who's trying to be a suave motherfucker, but it's like it's so uncomfortable. Like he's like, that word uncomfortable is very much how you feel the entire time you're watching that movie.
In that same vein, there was a scene towards the beginning when he picks up that hooker and he goes to the motel, and he's like paying for the room, and the guy goes like, it's $5 more if you want a color TV, and you can see in his head he's like, yeah, all right. He just has this like, that's clearly not important to him right now, but he's still like, do I want a color TV? Like it's all in his head. You can see that inner battle, and I just thought that was really funny. Like he's really he's gonna kill this woman, and he's like, but I could watch color TV afterwards. Like just little things like that really made you kind of relate to this dude, and I like that.
Yeah. That was another Blue Underground that I was really excited about when Bill Lustig, put that one out. I actually have the soundtrack on vinyl. Ooh. I bought it many, many years ago. And I bought it because so I got it from Mondo, and those bastards, they're like, they were doing stuff where like you had to be like right there on the day at the time, and then you had to just jump on it.
Oh yeah.
Thankfully I was off work that day, and I was sitting there waiting, and I fucking got one. It's still sealed. I still have never opened it because I don't know if I got just the regular black one or if I got one of like 300, was like 100 or 200 red vinyls that they pressed for it. And I've seen on eBay that same album, I paid like $25 for it, going for almost $300 now. And I'm just like, oh, think about all the movies I could buy with that. No, don't do it. Because that soundtrack is amazing too.
Yeah. I like your, Schrodinger's vinyl approach to this. It's good.
Yeah, it is simultaneously the shitty regular black vinyl, but it could also be the amazing blood red vinyl. And I am okay with that at this point in my life.
Oh, yeah. God. Mondo is dangerous. They are so cool. For a long time ago, we got my uncle, who's a big movie fan, we got him a Mondo Pulp Fiction print, and it is gorgeous. And I love their work. Fantastic. They had a gallery in Austin. I don't know if it's like if you can go there now, but there was for the longest time a gallery. I hope it's open again. So that was fun. Definitely made me feel like that was worthwhile watching all those films one after another. So with that, let's dig into Eibon's comics and see how they match up with Fulci's The Beyond. So we've got the first issue by Stephen Romano, illustrated by Pat Carbajal and Bruna Costa. The artwork already on the cover is spectacular. I mean, just holy shit, fire and spiders and flesh, and just tells you exactly what this is going to be.
Oh yeah. It's gonna melt your fucking brains is what these books are gonna do.
Straight up. And I love that this first issue is mostly a prologue to the movie that we never got. And I thought that was brilliant. I was like, okay, some establishment information. I like this. Chapter 1, the Book of Eibon. And it's great. We get this, this tale of love that becomes tainted by the Book of Eibon, and just grisly visuals. I love it. The what's his name? The John, yeah, at the beginning, just whipping his wife with the belt, and it's it really establishes a great tone and kind of creates this cyclical almost prophecy to this story, that these people are destined to like relive this horrific situation.
Yeah, absolutely. That was something like when I was first reading it, I was really more blown away by the visuals and the artwork. It was just I was like just soaking it all in, and I was just so overwhelmed. And then starting to like go back and actually read and understand what they were going for. It was really interesting that they were taking the established mythology, like the words that we had from Fulci's movie, and then pulling it and then creating something of their own. I don't know if you took the in the fourth issue in the sweet Eibon sleeve. Yeah, I'm probably gonna try and hawk your stuff for you, Shawn, and I'm totally okay with it. If you do when or not if when fuckers when you buy comics from Eibon, go for the Eibon sleeve. Go for these things that get numbered and signed, because they pack these bitches. Like I have so many books that it's ridiculous, and like I'm constantly in this like rotation of reading books and putting them down, and like I get overwhelmed trying to start a book, and I'm like, oh god, there's 700 pages. How am I ever going to finish this? So I just like go and start reading something else. Bookmarks is what I'm getting at. Bookmarks are my best friend, and I have so many now. Got some sweet ones thanks to Eibon. And so in the sleeve for the fourth one, yes, that shit is great. It's fucking wonderful. So in the sleeve, they have this thing from Steven where he talks about how long this journey has come from them first doing this over 20 years ago. Yeah, almost 20 years ago. This story has been gestating. So the fact that these guys have kept at it is a testament to knowing you want to create something and never letting that shit go, because this was well worth the wait. This shit was amazing. But yeah, so I kind of want to talk about how the Book of Eibon is like this thing, like this esoteric, yep, that's what I'm talking about, this esoteric book that on its own might not be anything special, but like once it's read and once it's consumed by a person, it corrupts them, except for those who the book is speaking to, i.e. Liza. Somehow she has this connection to it, and what it does to John, and I think part of that is like his jealousy of seeing that Liza has this link to it that he can't understand. And it totally drives him mad to the point where he's beating the hell out of her. And then she turns him into the thing on the cover, which I was like fist pumping. I was like, fuck yeah, fuck that guy. And then I'm thinking about it. Oh shit, that's the same dude. That's the same guy from where like books 2 through 4 are like adapting the actual movie. Like it's John and Liza again. And they're doing this again. And it also explains Emily's presence, in that Emily was originally around when Schweik, the painter, when he was around, when he and Liza first come together in 1927, which is when this book is taking place, book 1, that is.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I'm not, y'all know me on this show. I don't kiss ass. I'm honest here, and I really do think that the comic run of the Beyond, in my opinion, surpasses the film. I like these a lot. I like the way it fills in the gaps. It gives you a narrative to follow and it enhanced my viewing pleasure of the film. I watched the film earlier today after having read the comics, and I was way more into it. I think that's awesome that they can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually, so after I finished the books, I finished them on Sunday. And then last night I watched The Beyond again. And I found because I was like sitting with the books and I was like making little notes as I was reading. I was like, oh, like, yeah, like I really appreciate Fulci's movie more. And yeah, they definitely, these books, the comics, add a lot more. They expand on the story that we already know, especially for someone like me, who this is like well-tread territory. And it gives you something. And not only that, they don't try to over-explain anything. They just give you enough to anchor you, and then you're like, oh shit, okay. And then when you're watching the movie, you're like, it makes sense. It makes sense that Emily is saying things when she's confronted in the living room by Schweik's zombie and all the other ones. She's like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. And then you realize, because the ending kind of confirms that, is like Emily was in the beyond. That's where she was. And she was back because she's repeating this cycle over and over again, because she's stuck in that house and she's tainted by what she knows, which that was also one of my favorite lines in this whole book and out of the movie, is they're talking about the beyond, and they're like talking about where the truth scorches us blind. And it's like, oh, damn it. Like it reaffirms the ending when you find out that John and Liza have stumbled into the beyond because the gates of hell are opened under the house, and now they're stuck there. They are just as fucked as Emily was, and the truth of that has fucking robbed them of their sight.
It really makes Fulci's hell so much scarier, that, you know, it's so impossible to comprehend that it just blinds you. Like you're not able to understand just how horrific this place is, mentally or physically, and it just takes away your sight, so you can't. Like that's so creepy. I love it.
Which is a very Lovecraftian idea. Lovecraft made it a point to not give you much in the way of descriptions of what his characters are going through, even though a lot of it was in first person. He still didn't give you something to tangibly hold on to in the form of like a description. He was forcing you to use your own mind, but also telling you at the same time, this shit drove me nuts. Like, I am completely and utterly insane and questioning all reality by what I've just experienced. And I'm telling you now. And oh, by the way, it's, you know, you're fucked now for hearing this.
Reminds me of Stephen King's 1408, not the movie, but the story, and how the story is all build up and then just the aftermath. And I love that the whole build up is, don't go in that room. Just please don't go in there. And he's like, fuck you. I know what I'm doing. And then they found him rambling about like crazy shit. He was never the same again. And you're just thinking, what the hell did he see in there? And, you know, what you don't see is always scarier than what you do see. And Fulci definitely knew how to capture that.
Oh yeah, but I mean, even what he shows you, like even what he does show you in the kills and the zombies, or whatever you want to call them in the movie, they're still so explicit that it sticks with you. And I think in going through this, the thing I've come to understand about the male characters in the comics and in the movie is like their arrogance is what kills them. Schweik in this thinks he's some kind of savior, and that only he can teach Liza about her birthright, and that he's the one that's going to be able to save humanity and all this stuff. But it's his own arrogance that winds up doing him in, because he was messing around with Emily, who was the daughter of the guy that leads the mob to kill him. Like, it's this whole notion that like, men, we know better. We all know that we can handle this. Ladies, just sit down and watch us, okay? Just watch us get shit done. But they can't. They fucking can't. And it's really sweet, because like when I first watched The Beyond, you're like, why are they doing this to this guy? Like, clearly they don't know who he is. They're just afraid of him and they're killing. But then when you get into this book and you're like, oh, okay. He fucking thought, but even in his own way, he was tortured by the book. Like he knew something about it and it tortured him so much that like he was seeing things that he had no idea about. He had seen Liza in his dreams and had no idea who she was, but knew that he, in his own arrogant way, knew that he could help her. Only he could help her. Fucking idiot. Got what he deserved is where I'm getting at.
Yeah. And that's, kind of reflective of really most of human history, is men thinking they know better and always just fucking shit up. And I like that the film and the book go there. And I like this little nod to the Book of Enoch and how it's far away in the town of Dunwich. I was like, I know what that means now. That was cool.
Yeah. That was something else I'd made a note of. I was like, okay, so the Book of Eibon is here, and then the Book of Enoch is, it's in Dunwich. Okay, I see what you're doing here. Nice.
Oh, it's
clever
impressive.
boys, you.
Yeah. And I agree that, giving Schweik a little bit more background in his relationship with Liza and Emily, it does make his death at the hands of the mob a little bit more his fault. And you get it this time. I mean, it still is hardcore, beating him with a chain, crucifying him to the bathroom wall. It's a bit much, boiling him alive, but it's not all, it's not all their fault. He had it coming. Yeah, this is great. Moving on to the second issue, which really kind of starts the film adaptation here. We get more background into 80s Liza and her relationship with this house or hotel, and how, she feels she's been there before. There is this cyclical vibe to this whole thing that really makes it a lot more of a powerful story. Yeah. Very cool.
By the way, did you catch the Fulci cameo?
I did not. Where was it?
Literally on like the third page where she's talking about her grandfather, I think.
Oh yeah.
Straight up, the dude in the wheelchair. That's Fulci all day long.
That's awesome.
Not to mention, I think it's at the end of the second one or the first one where they go and you're seeing like the setup for the next book. Yeah. So the end of the first one, you're seeing a telegram from Mr. Fuller.
Yeah.
Who is, as most, true gorehounds will know, Louis Fuller was Lucio Fulci's Americanized name when they would release some of these in the States. These Italians being so clever, they thought that they could lend more credibility to their movies if they had an American name on there. Yeah, don't ask me why. Italians are all about trying to dress something up and slapping it out there and being like, hey, look, they're not going to give a shit. Like, come on. Lucio Fulci, Louis Fuller. Yeah, let's do that. But yeah, Mr. Fuller is the name on the telegram there.
I can't believe I didn't catch that. That's brilliant. Louis Fuller. I can't believe I didn't pick up on that. Ha! That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, Fulci pops up in like all of their comics that I've seen so far. I don't know about The House by the Cemetery. I'm assuming he will, because if they're adapting it from the movie, he's in the movie. And the best is in the zombie series that they do. I got to get my hands on that. I hope they reprint the graphic novel. Shawn, I'm begging you, reprint the graphic novel. I will buy it, and I will do my best to try and convince as many people as I can to buy it. Because way back, this is like 2017, somewhere around there, I had entered into this caption contest that Eibon held. And I think I was I don't remember what it was. I think it was for a movie called Rotor, which was an acronym, and they were like, make up your own Rotor acronym. And I can't remember what it was, but it won. And I got 2 issues of the zombie comic. And it's like, I think the first 3 are the movie, and then the subsequent ones are just them just going off the rails with it. But Lucio Fulci is in there as this crazy general who winds up becoming a zombie by the end of it. It's so fucking awesome. But yeah, I got them for free, and I was like so happy about it. I got to read them while I was on deployment, and I showed them to Caleb and shit. I was like, don't sleep on these comics. And you know, Caleb, he's like, oh yeah, I'll put it on my list of things to do because I have to go things 1 through fucking 10, blah blah blah. I'm like, God, just go do something when somebody tells you to do it. I'm making a recommendation. You've trusted my recommendations before. Like, what is your problem? Stop. Just break the cycle. Break the cycle.
Oh, this is, yeah. I love that you have that connection with the zombie comics. That's really cool. Yeah, fantastic. These guys, their work is so good. I'm looking into, you know, part 2 with the gore is amplified because of what, you know, they can do with the drawings, the guy falling off the railing and his head kind of just exploding. I love that. The narration about, you know, I thought I'd done this before. He looked familiar, things like that. It really puts you in a new state of mind.
Yes. Yeah. Given the new context that you get from the first book and how, you know, they've done this before, but they don't know. And Liza's connection to the hotel isn't just like a surface connection. You know, from these books, you get a lot more of a deeper appreciation and a deeper understanding that she might not be exactly who she thinks she is either, because you see what she's capable of in that first book when she fucking liquefies her abusive ass husband. Like, she's got some kind of power that she's not aware of. And yeah, I love that because it's like it creates a little bit of tension here to like, is she going to figure out who she is and what she's capable of?
And then also we get, you know, some direct parallels from the movie, like Joe the plumber down the I'll never get over Joe the fucking plumber. Just breaking open the wall in the basement, opening the gate. And it's so much I think it's creepier in the comic, just like this void and then a face in the void and then a hand just fucking him up. And we still get that, you know, signature Fulci eyeball squish. Just
well, I mean, you can't not do that.
Yeah. But it's even like the fucking eye explodes in the comics. It's so over the top. I love it. It's the eye flies out and then just bursts in midair for some reason. It's great. And then we get, of course, Liza driving right into Emily on the highway.
So I don't know if you've ever driven into New Orleans.
I have not.
I have driven on those very same like jetty like bridges or whatever you want to like. It's the weirdest shit ever because it looks just like that. Like they look so, I mean, at the time we were driving on them, it was nighttime, but I got to see them during the day when we were leaving. It is like, it's just this weird, like ethereal thing. And it's so mind blowing. And I think that's one of like my favorite pictures of Lucio Fulci. If you ever Google him, there's literally a picture of him sitting in a director's chair, framed up just like that. Like I want to get that blown up as a poster and I want to put that up on my wall because that is like, it says so much about him and kind of like what I don't know. He just looks so fucking cool in that picture.
That's fantastic. I think you told me about that when we did the Beyond the first time. I remember hearing about that picture. That's really cool. One of my favorite things this comic does is give you backstory, even a little bit of backstory on Martha, Arthur, and anyone who really comes into contact with this house and how they're connected to all this. And I like that. We get, you know, in the movie, they're kind of just background characters who don't really do much. But in this, they're a significant part of the story of the Gates. And it makes sense that, Martha would go into the basement, see Joe the plumber, and just kind of be like, oh, okay. Because in the movie, I was always like, is anybody going to deal with this? But in the book, it's like, yeah, she's not scared because this is normal for her.
Yeah, it's not the first time she's seen this shit.
That makes sense then. Yeah, if I was, well versed in hell and I saw a dead body, I'd be like, all right, guess it's Tuesday. But the little flashback with the kid who gets crucified in the house.
Oh yeah, like I literally just turned to that page because I remember that. I was like, oh fuck, oh yeah. Again, it's one of those things that just it doesn't leave you, and it does kind of go. It also talks about when she got put up in the mental hospital, which was just kind of like hinted at in the movie, but then you're like, well, what exactly? Like it kind of, again, it just, for lack of a better word, it fleshes everything out. We're talking about Lucio Fulci, haha, flesh, blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's perfect. We get reasons of why she's so wary about this house, why she has a bad feeling because of all this dark shit that happened to her when she was a kid. And yeah, it's weird that the movie would gloss over a commitment to a mental hospital. I feel like that's very important character development, and I'm glad that the comic goes there.
Well, I think in a lot of these Italian movies, time is money, and you want to keep things moving, and yeah. I think that's also something that gets kind of lost in translation when you're writing in a foreign language, and then you're trying to present it in a foreign language. Like you have your brain wired in a certain way because of where you're from and your style and how you think about a story, and then you try and put that in another language. Some things are going to get lost in translation. Things are just going to get totally glossed over. And oh, by the way, who really makes movies? Who really calls the shots at the end of the day? It might be the director, but it's probably going to be the producer. The thing that I will say is a really good thing about Fulci's movies is that he worked with a lot of the same people. And De Angelis loved Fulci, loved working with him. So I'm sure he gave Fulci a lot of freedom to do what he wanted to do. And because Fulci makes his movies the way he makes his movies, he might not have even been so focused on that if for him, he understood what it meant to the character. But really, I just want to see Joe's fucking eyeball pop out of his fucking head, or Martha's fucking eyeball pop out of her head. Like those are the real things that he's really making this movie for. He wants to string together these nightmarish images he has in his head.
I love the idea that like the whole crew is just trying to craft a movie around Fulci's crazy ass. Like, I want to see eyeballs pop. Just random exploit, like just.
I mean, Dardano Sacchetti said as much. He was like, Fulci would read the script and he's like, this is great, but I want to do this. I want to see a fucking shark fight a fucking zombie. Like, but that's not even in the script. But I want to see it because I really want to shoot this, have this beautiful underwater scene. And oh, by the way, there's going to be a naked lady in there, like all, because he's thinking about it from this purely cinematic standpoint, which if you get the chance to watch Zombie, like in like a good restoration of it, that underwater scene is like the best, like visually appealing part of that entire movie, because everything else is very rough, and even the way it's shot, it's still really dirty and grainy, but like that underwater cinematography is just like chef's kiss. It's beautiful, and you get to see a zombie fighting a shark. So I mean, come on.
I'll never get over the fact that it's a real shark and a real guy in zombie makeup just kind of dancing out there. Like, that's insane. A fucking tiger shark and some dude in zombie makeup just flying around underwater. It's amazing nobody got their head bit off.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that like that stuntman went so far as to have a fake arm on his arm and then shove it in a shark's mouth so the shark can rip his arm off. Like, only Italians would be that ballsy. Only Italians would be that ballsy.
Oh my God. I do want to point out the back cover of issue 2. That is hot.
That is, I don't know how much you, you have Latin roots. This is like straight up. I would airbrush this on the roof of my fucking Firebird or on my giant Chevy van quality right here. And I say that with all the love that I can. This is not, I am not talking shit. Like, this is beautiful fucking artwork right here. Dare I say, I would find a tattoo artist that would be ballsy enough to take this on. I would tattoo this on me.
That's a hell of a piece. It's great art. Make a great poster, great tattoo. Yeah, that's fantastic. 3. 7 Doors of Death. Well, going to the hospital. I love that it actually explains a little bit more of this dude's brain machine. That now I'm like, all right, yeah, makes sense that he'd hook that up. In the movie, it's like, I'm gonna hook up this 6-year-old corpse to my brainwave machine. Like, what the hell's a brainwave machine? What are you talking about? But now it's like, oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, and 7 Doors of Death was the alternate American title for The Beyond when it was released in the States. It's called The 7 Doors of Death. There you go.
That's fantastic. I love that. I also love the little brainwave pop in, like, when they leave the room on the corpse. I think it's a lot more potent in the comic. Yeah, I love the random John's flashbacks of, like, I keep thinking that I did something terrible a long time ago. Like, who can ever really outrun his past? The character development is so fucking good in this comic, especially with the little girl. Her name escapes me.
Oh God, yeah.
Jill?
No.
Is it Jill?
No. God damn it. What is her damn name?
We're gonna find it. It is Jill.
It is, okay.
I should always trust my instincts. But yeah, we get a little glimpse of her connection to all this. And how she was like, her father thought she was a witch, so he brutally killed her and cursed his family. And that's why they're all involved now. That's great, because the whole time when I was watching the movie, I'm thinking, like, why is this girl getting so much focus? Is this going somewhere? And it didn't. But now it's like, okay, she's just another intricate part of this ongoing hellscape. Gotcha.
And another testament to the cyclical nature of these characters. Like, again, you've got a male character who is totally consumed with his own arrogance and his own hate that he would kill his own daughter.
Yeah.
Because he's afraid of what she is and has no basis for any of it. None whatsoever. And yeah, and even that poor girl is her fucking, the truth has scorched her blind as well.
And I gotta say, the acid bath in that scene, wow, that is some of the most gorgeous, gory artwork I've ever seen. That is
so
remarkable.
I can't help, and I think this just because of how rockin' the soundtrack is to The Beyond.
Yeah.
That when I looked at this scene again in the comic, I could hear that funky jazzy breakdown. I was like, oh my God. Like, it's just that music is forever in my brain. And when I looked at this again, like, it's replaying in my head. It's perfect.
Shudder calls it spooky music with a beat.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm the same way whenever I see Emily. I think her theme is my favorite bit of the music in the movie. And I always hear that when I see her in the comics.
Yeah, I don't like it. It randomly pops up in my head sometimes. Like, I might just be walking down the stairs or something, and it's dark at night, and I can just hear it in my head. Just hear it. And it's like, God, fucking Fulci, Fritzy, you bastards. You're like, you're never going to get out of there, are you? You're just living rent free in my brain, fucking with me. I am okay with that.
Ugh, this just pile to wander into a morgue where your dad is on a slab and then just find your mom is a goopy pile of mess on the floor. Like, this is horrific. And I can't stop. I can't look away. It's gorgeous. This is so creepy. Jill's whole bit in the comics is so creepy. And then it goes right into John and Liza getting to know each other and actually like having a conversation that makes sense now. Like, they're actually talking about something. It's not just mindless chatter. And then, of course, we get the funeral with the bit on of Jill having freaky eyes. What do you call it? Blinded, but scorched by. I forget the line.
The truth will scorch us blind.
Okay, there we go. The truth will scorch us blind.
So I'll give you another little Easter egg in here. The bartender, who calls John over and tells him he's got a phone call, and he says, "Oh, thank you, Antonella."
Yeah.
You know whose daughter was named Antonella?
I'm gonna go with Fulci.
Yes. And she is actually the inspiration, and I think I might have told you this on the recording we did for the Beyond. She was actually the inspiration for the symbol for the Book of Eibon.
You did tell me that. Yeah, the weird tattoo she got. Yeah.
Yep. The shitty tattoo that her dad hated. He was like, "Yeah, come in here. Show me this crap. Show him this crap." Yeah.
Oh God, I love it. Emily's whole, I told you to leave bit. Again, that makes sense now. Like, she's lived through this. You understand what she's gone through. You know why she wants Liza to get the fuck out of here now. Perfect.
So that scene where she's running again, that's something that plays through my head again, as it's Fulci used in this weird dream logic where like she's running out, but you hear nothing. There's no sound whatsoever. And at first, like, I think the first time I watched it, I was like, is this fucking VHS? Is this shit broken? Like, what the hell just happened? But then you find out, like, and especially after looking through the comic, you're like, okay, now it makes a lot more sense. Like, who Emily is and where she's come from. She doesn't operate by the laws of this world because she is not of this world anymore.
Nope. And now we understand also the larger strength and capabilities of the Book of Eibon. Now we're a little apprehensive when Liza finds it in room 36. So good. And I love the little like electricity of Schweik's body in the bathroom. Like, it's like there's lightning involved. I don't know what that is, but I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. But I do like the imagery.
Yeah.
I like the way that it like it's him calling out to her still. Like, he's still, even from wherever his body is trapped or whatever, like he's still trying to complete his task. And his fucking thing still thinks that he can fucking save Liza and she can save everything, but really, like, she, from how I'm understanding it, she is like the harbinger of fucking doom. Like, she's the one that opens the door that just fucks all reality up.
Yeah, pretty much. I love that we get these little glimpses of the past, like when she's talking to John and there's that little bit, the little panel of the belt that turns into the snake. Just reminder of just everything that is kind of on their shoulders that they don't even know about.
Yeah. And I think like it's like this weird way of like Liza like remembering something that she doesn't know, like in her mind, like she doesn't know that she's actually done this already. Like, this is something that's happened before and it's going to happen again. Like, it's just gonna, because like even if if their names were not the same, the fact that they're still in the roles that they are, it just continues this circle. I think the fact that, you know, John McCabe from 1927 is John McCabe in the 80s, it's just like, you are just doomed to repeat and constantly, you know, get stuck in this no matter what.
Do you think that 80s John and Liza break the cycle? Or do you think that they're just like, because of the way they are kind of embraced by the beyond again at the end, do you think that they're just the latest and it's going to happen again?
I think that in this storyline, they've completed what they were supposed to do. Like, they were supposed to go there all along. They were supposed to do it together. I think when she killed him the first time and Schweik was killed, like, that stopped it from happening at that point. Because then Liza is a little girl, and it just kind of leads up again to building and building to this point. And I think both of them were supposed to go there. I don't think, and I think Schweik was kind of like the push. You know, he was holding the book, and he was the one that was he's kind of like the match that just lights it all off, I guess is one way to think about it.
Okay. Yeah, I buy that.
I could be totally wrong, and I would be happy to get corrected one way or another.
I want to point out the awesome 7-panel death of Arthur, which is gorgeous and so fucking freaky. Yeah, just kind of getting like ripped to shreds and drowned into the void. It's so beautiful and so grisly, and I love it.
And in true Fulci fashion, there's eyeballs popping out.
Of course. Does anybody
Naturally.
in this die with their eyeballs intact? Or
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. You know, if you're gonna have a theme or you're gonna have a running gag, you might as well just go all out. If you're gonna go for it, just go for it with gusto.
Yeah, I agree. The bookstore guy, creepier in the comic or creepier in the movie? What do you think?
I think he's creepier in the comic, because in the movie he's just kind of like, again, he's kind of just awkward, and he doesn't really have much purpose. But like here, you're just like, I think it's kind of the way, like, even his dialogue bubbles are in a whole other color, and they're just like weird and creepy looking. You're just like, you're a fucking weird looking dude. Like, you know, he's like the Crazy Ralph in this comic book. You're all doomed. You know, like that's his whole bag. He's just existing there to fucking mess with Liza, and he's the only one laughing because of, you know, he knows what's going on. He knows what she's looking for. And yeah.
Kind of looks like Phil Spector. I wonder if that's on purpose.
Well, there's only a couple people that know that for sure.
Next panel, we get more eye explosions. Like a lot.
Literally exploding eyes.
Yeah, good God. I love it. And then we get the bit with the architect at the city planner's office, where the guy's like, "Hey, labor victory, early lunch, see ya." I don't know why I love that so much.
I think this also like goes back to one of my other favorite scenes in this movie, which, again, the guy with the glasses on his head, it's Fulci again.
Yep. Sans
beard this time. Man is a chameleon. But the fucking spiders, like that, like, okay. So yes, in the movie, you can clearly tell the difference between the fake spiders and the real ones. But their ferocity cannot be called into question. Like, they are just going for it in the movie. And then obviously, as is the case with this book, like, it's to the excess. Like, I I don't want to speak for a dead man, but I'm pretty sure Fulci would appreciate the artwork in these books.
Oh, absolutely. He would, yeah. He would have hired these guys to be fucking art directors on his films. Like this is gorgeous.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure Pat Carbajal would have had a great career doing storyboards for Fulci's movies.
Yeah. I'm not going to fault the lack of accuracy regarding the spiders in the Beyond. I mean, it's 1981. Fulci did what he could. I think this is a great homage and a great kind of readaptation of that, and just so much red, and there's your eyeball. Like it's it's perfect.
So I kind of want to read from the page before where you see the architect, and I'm gonna start like right in the middle where it says his eyes full of fire, blinded, falling down and down into oblivion, into the writhing, seething unknown, where every hero pays, where every truth is laid bare forever, and then in the black and ever. Like, yes, like this is so, like, there's a lot of really great writing like this in the entire book. Like all of them, there's just really great lines like that. And again, it just adds to the experience of reading these books and watching the movie. And you're like, I couldn't not love a movie more than having these comics to accompany them.
Yeah.
And this is okay. So this is something else. Anybody that gets into Eibon and might miss on these things, like this is why they do what they do, and this is why their artwork is so special. Like they make this to be fully appreciated and to have like collector's items. They do limited runs. They have different packages for their stuff. They also have some of their other books like Wasteland. That's like this weird like post-apocalyptic sci-fi horror comic that they've got. I haven't read it. Obviously the artwork is outstanding, but they put a lot of love into these books, and our words can only do so much. I mean, just follow them on Instagram and Twitter and look at what they have to offer. I mean, I bought fucking fridge magnets. One of them is the cover to The Gates of Hell. The other one is to Zombie. I've got this weird thing about collecting movie poster fridge magnets for horror movies.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've got a shitload of them. And I saw those on the Eibon shop, and I was like, well, yeah, I have to fucking get those. So yeah, I mean, everything they do is done with all the love that, folks like us who appreciate horror movies and comics and all of that stuff, like you feel it in all of this, and all this gut churning glory that these comic books are filled with. Like you can't not feel that love in there. So
straight up,
check them out. I'm going to keep saying it. Connor will keep saying it. Check them out. They're worth it. Absolutely
check them out. Chapter 4, Face the Sea of Darkness. And this is a great way to cap this off. We get a great, Martha getting impaled through the back of the head, eyeball straight out, as it's the rule. And then just covered in snakes and gore. It's fucking great. I think Emily's death is a lot more potent and freaky in the comics, because now you kind of understand what she was trying to do and what she wanted and what she didn't want. And Schweik coming back just seems a lot more ominous, and I really appreciated that. Dickie just going to town on her. There's something a lot more kind of sad about it in the comics. Like I felt it more in the comics than I did in the movie.
Yeah, it seems, well, because you're not really sure like what their real connection is, and the comics do a really good job of explaining that and showing that there is a relationship, probably a one-sided one, in like that Emily is probably the one that's more devoted out of the two of them. Schweik kind of with his arrogance and feeling like this tortured soul who's painting these things that I've only seen in my mind, and and Emily is clearly jealous of Schweik's fixation on Liza. I mean, she tries to get Liza killed a couple of times. So like, yeah, like she's definitely the jealous lady, and she feels like she's done what she was asked and it wasn't good enough. And so now she's going to have to pay.
Oh boy, does she. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. I love Liza's kind of when all hell breaks loose, for lack of a better term. You're kind of not sure if this is really happening or if she's losing her mind, especially now that you've seen her, you know a bit about her past. And I love the bit where she's being chased through the house by her own name. Just Liza, 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 Liza. Like that's so creepy. I love that.
Well, I think it's like I think it's a really good way, because even in the movie, like you have those moments where like you're not really sure what is really happening. I mean, I made the case for it when we first talked about the movie The Beyond, that like once good old Joe, just trying to find the source of a leak, breaks open that wall and he releases the door, like all bets are off and anything and everything is going to happen. But I like how they handle it in the comic, where like they start to like blur what Liza's seeing, and she's starting to have these crisscrossing images of John, but he's John from like what 55 years ago or whatever it is, like, and she's just not sure what's really happening, which ties back into the fact that she was put in a fucking loony bin. So clearly they're leaning into it, and it's really great that, much like people have problems with the narrative thread of Italian horror movies, like this is pretty solid, and they're I don't feel like there's anything that's just disposable in these books. Like anything they mention, like it carries over, and they've been able to tie these together really well. So that's all credit to Stephen Romano and his writing, and like how he's been able to really like take something that was, as far as a narrative is held together, like it's held together with fucking duct tape and good intentions, but the way he writes it and the way he puts it together, it's handled really well, and I've got nothing but respect for him for that.
Yeah, I second that. One of my favorite lines that he wrote is, "I never asked him why a doctor would carry a gun, but it didn't matter." Like at that point, she's just like, this is clearly not a priority. Like we need to kill these monsters or whatever the hell's going on. And then of course, I love the next panel. It just feels, straight out of Dawn of the Dead. Woe be unto man at the opening of the gates of hell, for through that gateway the dead shall walk the earth. Like that imagery of just, a bullet going through a zombie's head. It just feels so Romero to me, and I love it.
Very much so. So like those zombies were, that whole scene in the hospital, like those were tacked on for, I guess, like a German release of the movie. Like those zombies were, because like the Germans love zombies apparently. Who knew? So they're just lumped in, but then they're treated here like it's something that people remember from the movie, but they're handled in such a way. And even though this movie doesn't make fucking a lick of sense, but it makes sense when you approach it from an illogical standpoint. Everything that they're doing, like once they leave and get to the hospital, and then they like start weaving their way through it, and Next thing you know, like they're back in the fucking house again. It's like, how the fuck did this happen? You know, you're like, guess what, bitches? Like you're fucked now. Like you're in the lines of reality and hell have been totally blurred, and it's only leading you in one direction, which is farther and farther down.
Yeah. I love, straight up. I love the Harris, the like doctor who gets killed by the broken glass right into the fucking eye as usual. And then Jill's whole bit, just the image of her head getting completely blasted open was great in the movie, and just, oh man. If it wouldn't make guests think I'm deranged, I would love that as a poster.
Look, you love what you love, Connor. Okay. So I would probably say like don't keep it in your bedroom above your bed, because you're probably not going to get laid. But you know, you like what you like, man. It's okay. And if they hate on you for it, they're probably not worth keeping around. Just saying.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'd have to explain why I have a poster of a child getting their head blown off over my bed. I feel like that's worth an explanation. Just like, have you ever seen The Beyond? No, you got an hour and a half.
Well, clearly we're not having fun in here. So let's go to the living room and I'll show you what I'm talking about.
I got a TV in my bedroom. I can multitask.
Hey, man, you're bringing home that kind of girl. She's probably going to be excited you have that over your bed. So you don't need any explaining.
That's true. That's very true. It is gorgeous though. Like just the brain matter flying off the fuck. This. Oh, if I could draw like that, I would be so proud.
Yeah, right.
I can't draw for shit, so I'm always very impressed.
I mean, I can't. I could never draw this well. Not one damn bit. Not at all. Which is why I'm such in awe of what they were able to pull off, like Pat Carvajal and Bruno Costa with all of this stuff. Like it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. And of course it makes sense that, they're in hell. So you go farther down the hospital and you're in the house and the basement. And I love that they keep seeing imagery, like images of, dead souls and of their past, that like, what is it? Those creatures who mock us and fade away to nothing, hidden in places of guilt and regret we cannot heal. That's Jesus. So poetic.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And just that image of them like running into the void together. Their holding hands, like they're going to face this together no matter what it is. And they end up in that, that sound stage that you told me about.
Still to this day, like when I watched it yesterday, I was looking at it and I was just like, the fact that exists in a movie and it was done the way it was done is amazing to me. Like that is the definition of working with what you've got available to you and making it like just making it work. And not only that, it became like one of the most memorable landscapes in a horror movie. And it like, I mean, the fact that it was like used again late, to like create a painting of, that this guy was seeing in his head and he's like seeing this place that he can't explain. And it's just like, well, there it is. Like, there it is. And I really love how like they're going in there, but like, it's almost like Liza knows that she has to take John with her. Like she can't let him go this time. He can't not be here when she crosses over. He has to come with her because it's kind of like closing this circle that has been opened for a long time. And now they can finally like go here and perhaps fulfill whatever, destiny they had laid out before them. Yeah.
See, there's so much. I feel like there's so much more at stake in these comics. Like you feel like this is a bigger, like this is part of something that's been happening, like that's been going on for thousands of years, and they're just a small piece of it. There's a wider game at play here, and I love that. And then, of course, at the end of the comic, we get this epic sequel tease I was not expecting. Escape from the Beyond, final 3-issue series coming Halloween 2021. So excited.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like if you don't already, you can subscribe to their newsletter, and like Shawn will put out updates and stuff. And I'm all up in it. I've been up in it for a while. And he teased that out, and I was like, shut the fuck up. Like this is fully going to be like their own story and their own thing.
Yeah. And
I mean, the fact that they've still been referencing the Seven Sisters, like I'm really hoping that something comes out of that. I'm also very curious to see what they did with the house by the cemetery, because Shawn was teasing that when we were talking to him. Because we asked, I think I asked him about kind of like, you know, reading the zombie comics that I did read. You know, he was like, actually, like he prefers the house by the cemetery comics because of what they did with the origin of Dr. Freudstein and kind of like what he did. That was something else. I don't think I told you. The one of the other comics I won from that contest was a mini black and white first issue of House by the Cemetery. And you would think, well, it's black and white. Like, it's fucking amazing. And they did. So there's another comic that I am going to see if they still have some issues so I can try and cobble it together. It's called Bottom Feeder. Yeah. And it's like, so they used Joe Pilato as the inspiration for their hard-boiled detective guy. And anytime I see him, like I always fucking picture him in Day of the Dead where he's fucking choke on him. It's like one of my favorite cinematic assholes. And I love that they used him in this, but they put out, as Eibon does, they put out these insane packages for their comics, and they did one, they called it the Full Black. So the entire Bottom Feeder graphic novel in black and white. And I think they sold out by now. They should have, because from what I saw, it was fucking insane what they put together. But yeah, I definitely want to try and find out how I can get my hands on some of those. I might see if I can afford to get like some single issues or something. But yeah, the fact that they were using like people that we know from like all the horror movies and stuff that we watch are just like, oh, that's so cool. Like you can kind of pay tribute to these great actors.
I did that myself in my third book. I have a direct reference to Joe Pilato in Day of the Dead. I have one of my characters gets swarmed by vampires, and they start ripping him apart, and he's screaming, "Choke on it!" And it's direct reference to that was me kind of throwing my nod towards Romero. And yeah, it's fun to do that. It's fun to include, you know, your favorite little nods to your favorite stuff in your own work. It's really nice.
Absolutely, because you know, like you're acknowledging your influences, and I think the fact that anybody made comics out of Lucio Fulci stuff, I said it when we were doing the Beyond, like that's a testament to the impact his films had on people and how it manifested in some. I mean, they've managed to create some of the most memorable horror comics that I've ever seen in my life. Like there are still some I would love to have. I don't know how you are like with your knowledge of certain horror comics, but there was literally a 3-issue run that Topps did back in the day of Jason versus Leatherface.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It's like it pops up on eBay from time to time, and I could never find myself to like part with $150 to get those comics, but I will own them one day. Damn it. It's going to happen.
In the late 80s, they did a 2-part Fright Night comic book, and I want that very much. I've been trying to find that. And then, of course, I also would love to get my hands on Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, the graphic novel that is notoriously difficult to get a hold of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Of course, the stuff I want is like the stuff that doesn't exist anymore.
and that just shows you, like, as much as you might not think about it at the time, it's just like you kind of got to grab these things when they're there, which is why, here comes another shameless plug, which is why you should grab the comics from Eibon Press when they're out there, like, because those motherfuckers do go sell out, and then you can just stare and look at them like I have before and just go like, oh, I should have done that. You can sacrifice some coffees for a week, or, you know, your favorite fucking burrito, damn it, for a comic book that'll always be there and keep you comforted and give you nightmares because of the fucking beautiful, how did you phrase it? Because I think I used your words, what was it, the gorgeous and the grotesque or something like that?
Yeah, I texted you that. I remember that.
Yeah. Shawn, if you want to use that as like your tagline for your comics, go for it. You know, or have like a little tagline, you know, gorgeous and grotesque, Connor Eyzaguirre, Filmgazm. Like, go for it.
Fuck yeah. Oh, this was a blast. Special shout out to Shawn Lewis for help making this possible. You guys are doing awesome work, and we urge all of our followers to check out and purchase their awesome work at eibonpress.com. In addition to the Beyond, they've also done adaptations of City of the Living Dead, which they called Gates of Hell, The House by the Cemetery, Maniac, Zombie, and a lot of badass original graphic novels as well. Again, that's Eibon Press, EIBONPRESS.com. So go there.
Yeah, they're amazing. Also, I know everybody knows about like Cavity Colors and Fright Rags and all these other great. Rotten Cotton, it was like one of the original horror t-shirt websites, and Shawn still's got it pumping out. He's still got really good shit. He also branched out into the world of pins, so he makes like enamel pins and stuff like that. I got one that is the logo for Canon Films, so always loving some cheap schlocky movie companies. Canon obviously made one of your favorite movies of all time, Connor, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So so yeah, no, Shawn had that advertised one day, and I was like, fuck it, I'll buy that pin. Why not? Yeah.
Not the time. God damn it. This was great. Next week, in honor of the release of Spiral, Caleb and I are continuing Filmgazm's journey into the Saw franchise with 2005's Saw 2, which sees Detective Donnie Wahlberg trying to solve Jigsaw's intricate game while his son is trapped in a rundown house as part of Jigsaw's latest group of players. There will certainly be blood next week on the Filmgazm podcast. Don't miss John Singleton's Boys in the Hood on Oscar Sunday, Guy Ritchie's Wrath of Man on Monday's sneak preview, and whatever the Giggle Guys got for us on Friday. In the meantime, check out Eibon Press, check out Lucio Fulci's films on Shudder, and keep watching movies.